everyone, welcome to homework video 1.1. Today we looked at constraints and variables and writing equations and expressions from words. So this homework is going to expand upon that. As a reminder, I strongly encourage you to try the homework first on your own, and then if you need assistance, check the video, watch the video to see if you got it correct, and or watch the video if you need a little bit of support in any of the questions. All right, so let's start with number 1. The videography team entered a contest and won a monetary prize of $1,350. Which expression represents how much each person, all right, so we're looking at an each situation here, would get if there were X people on the team. So let's go ahead and dive right in. So we have each person here. We know that the team entered a contest and they have a total of $1,350. So that's the total amount, but when we're breaking it up and splitting it between each person, who is represented by the number X, okay? So since we know that we're splitting, we can go ahead and eliminate B because that doesn't make any sense. D also doesn't make any sense because we're not taking that $1,350 and subtracting one amount or we can't subtract people from money, right? Those two things can't be combined. So it either has to be A or C. C has 5, but we don't know how many people there were. We just know that there was a team of people. It could be 2 people, it could be 3 people. So A is our best option because it's taking that $1,350 and dividing it by X number of people so we can find out how much each person would get. All right, number 2, to support a local senior citizen center, a student club sent a flyer home to the N students in school. Remember I told you today that N we often use to represent the number of people in a scenario. The flyer said, please bring in money to support the senior citizen center, paper money and coins accepted. Their goal is to raise T dollars. So T dollars would be the total amount that they hope to raise, the absolute final amount, right? Now, it says match each quantity to an expression, an equation, or an inequality that describes it. So we want to match A, B, C, D, E with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So A says the dollar amount the club would have reached if they reach half their goal. So the goal is T, right? We determined that. So half of T would be 1/2 T. We can also represent 1/2 in a different way. Stop and think, what might that be? Well, we can also represent 1/2 as a decimal, 0.5. And so A nicely matches to number 2, 0.5 T. Letter B says the dollar amount the club would have if every student at the school donated 50 cents to the cause. So we have number of students is N, so that would be N. And then if each person donates, that's going to be a multiplication piece. Multiplied by 50 cents. Remember 50 cents is half of a dollar, so represented by 0.50 or 0.5. And so that would be N times 0.5. Now we know that when we multiply by a variable, we can write it as the coefficient, the number in front of the variable here. And so B matches nicely with 4. Letter C says the dollar amount the club could donate if they made $50 more than their goal. All right, so their goal is T. If they make an additional 50, we're just adding 50 here, right? It doesn't say 50 each or anything like that. It says 50 more than the goal, so that matches nicely to number 1. All right, the last two I'm going to leave to you doing completely on your own since I just modeled the first 3 for you. But D says the dollar amount the club would still need to raise to reach its goal after every student at the school donated 50 cents. So we already have the if each student donated 50 cents, what that would be. We have that piece to the equation. So we know part of it is going to be 0.5 N. All right, that should help narrow it down quite a bit for you there. All right. Okay, so match D and E on your own. Number 3, each of the 10 students in the baking club made 2 chocolates for a fundraiser. They all used the same recipe using C cups of flour in total. As I'm reading this, I see 10 students, each made 2 chocolate cakes, so there was a total of 20 cakes. And then it says the total amount of flour is C. Write an expression that represents the amount of flour required for 1 cake per cake. If we're doing per cake, we're doing division here. So I'm going to have C, that's the total number of cups, divided by the number of cakes, 20, because that'll give us cups per cake. Now, you could have also written this as C over 10 times 2 because that is the same thing. Remember we saw that earlier in our class today as well, where you can write it both ways. They're both correct because they equal each other. They're equivalent. Number 4. A student club started a fundraising effort to support animal rescue organizations. The club sent an information flyer home to the N students. Here we have that number of students again. It says, "We welcome donations of any amount, including any change you could spare. Their goal is to raise $T and to donate to a cat shelter and a dog shelter." Okay, this is kind of like superfluous information, most likely, but let's go ahead and see. All right, so match each quantity to an expression, an equation, or an inequality that describes it. The dollar amount the club would have if they reached 1/4 of their goal. Well, their goal is T. So if they reach their goal, they'll reach 1/4 of T, right? Or if they reach 1/4 of their goal, they'll reach 1/4 of T. Okay, so that matches nicely with 2. The dollar amount the club would have if every student at the school donated a quarter to the cause. All right, so now we have a quarter is 25 cents, 0.25, but we're looking at this time per student, right? So if each student donated that, and the number of students is N, so N times 0.25 or times a quarter. Now our options are all in fractions, so you're looking for what is represented by a quarter. That's 1/4. So we have number 5 here. Letter C says the dollar amount the club could donate to the cat shelter if they reached their goal and gave a quarter of the total donation to a dog shelter. So the total amount is T, right? That's their goal. Now, if they give a quarter of that to the dog shelter, we would have to subtract from that. So T minus a quarter of what they give, a quarter of the total, will give us the dog shelter. Okay, so in this case, this matches very nicely with number 3. All right, so we've got this one going on here. Letter D and E, again, I'm going to ask that you figure out yourself. Now that you have the information that I've given you for A, B, and C, you can figure these 2 out completely on your own. I know that you can. All right, number 5 says a softball team is ordering pizza, to eat after their tournament. They plan to order cheese pizzas that cost $6 each and 4 topping pizzas that cost $10 each. They order C cheese pizzas and F 4 topping pizzas. Which expression represents the total cost of all the pizzas they could order? Let's look through the answer options. You may have already picked one out immediately. But 6 plus 10 just gives us $6 plus $10. That gives us $16, but that doesn't include how many pizzas we ordered at all. All right, so can't be A. C plus F would give us the number of cheese pizzas and the number of 4 topping pizzas, but it doesn't give us the cost, and we're asked for the total cost. 6C plus 10F tells us 6 times the number of cheese pizzas, and we know that cheese pizzas do cost $6, plus 10 times the number of 4 topping pizzas will give us how much that costs, and then if we add that together, we will have a total amount. That looks pretty promising. Let's look at D though. D is 6F, so 6 times the number of 4 topping pizzas. That doesn't make sense because the 4 topping pizzas cost $10. So it can't be D, it has to be C. Now, these down below are just a review for you, so we're going to go ahead and look at this as it has a less than or equal to sign, which means, remember, we have open circle and closed circle on these graphs. A closed circle means less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. It's including that number in the number set. So this is less than or equal to, so I'm going to include the number and fill in my bubble, and it is less than, so we are going this way. Okay, down every number. If we chose 4, that'd be too much, right? Okay, number 2 is greater than, so we're going to use our open circle, and it's greater than -2. It is not including -2, and it is greater than, so we are going up the number line this way. Number 3 is less than or equal to, filling in our bubble, and going down this way. Okay, based on my example above with number 2, I think you can do number 4 completely on your own. I'm going to look at 5 and 6 because sometimes people get tripped up with this. So a lot of times when the variable is written on the right side, this feels very confusing. Okay, and so what I'm going to say to do is to rewrite it as A is less than or equal to -5. It just makes it easier than reading it as -5 is greater than or equal to A, right? That seems weird. So if you say a is less than or equal to -5, that gives you a nice starting point at -5 either way. But now we're looking at a has to be less than, because -5 is greater than a. That means a has to be down here somewhere. Okay? Similarly with this one, we can rewrite this as x is less than or equal to 4. This makes it a little bit easier for us to go ahead and think about which direction we're going on our number line. So when you have a variable and it's written to the right that way, I strongly suggest you go ahead and flip it, because I just think it'll help your brain process it a little bit better rather than saying 4 is greater than or equal to x. Okay? All right, that's it for your homework tonight. Happy homeworking. I always choose a code word that goes at the top of your page. So your code word today will be cake, and you'll write it right here at the top of your paper. Normally I won't write it, I will just say it, because I want to make sure that you are actually listening to me. Just watching what I'm doing is not helpful. You need to have your volume on and listen. So today's word is cake, right at the top of your paper. I will add extra credit to your homework tomorrow if you do that. Have a great evening, and I'll see you tomorrow.